let's talk about multi-item sorters. What is this even? It is the idea to sort multiple different item types into one place, usually one storage container. Unlike this thing, which I have shown before, which sorts each item type into its own container, you can make machines that put many of them into one. There are two types. First is the simpler type that I have shown in my previous video where I made a one-by-one multi-item sorter. That one, however, is a so-called slot preserving multi-item sorter. To explain it on this example, let me take this out. It would look something like this. So let's say I have 5 slots for wool, 5 for concrete, 5 for terracotta, I don't know how many carpet ones, stained glass ones, something like this. You can quickly understand the problem with this. Obviously, as the machine is filling, it is filling itself like this, and slowly going all the slots. But you probably won't know the exact composition and ratios between all the items you want to sort. That's why it's generally recommended to use such designs only on a very small scale, and then swap to something like this. However, people are very competent at inventing new designs that break previous solutions. And one of the things people have figured out is something called a non-slot preserving multi-item sorter. And that would look more like the example I have shown here, where if we take some red stuff, we can, for example, fill 7 slots with concrete powder, and then however many carpets come after that. These sort of machines are pretty advanced these days. I have recently seen a very advanced one, which is 6 by 6 by 2 blocks large. If you are thinking the same thing I was thinking, you realize 6 by 6 by 2 is pretty bad compared to this thing, which is clearly 1 by 1. Since here in this chest I can, or barrel or shulker box or whatever you want, you can put the brown items. Here you have the white ones, here you have the orange ones, whatever. However you want to order this. That's quite a difference. And that's not everything. The machine these guys made, I'll link it down in the description, also works in a series. What that means is, when we look at these filters in this machine, they can work in parallel. So this one can filter out these diamond blocks, and this one can filter out other diamond blocks, or for example red carpet, or whatever you want. Both at the same time. Unlike the multi-item sorters before. This limitation is also for the slot reserving ones, like the one I showed with the copper bulbs. So yeah, I wasn't able to fix that problem until now. This, as far as I can tell, is the, well, only and first ever 1 by 1 parallel working multi-item sorter without slot reservation. So that explains the title. So let's talk about how this works. Firstly, you can already see the same layout as for my other 2D designs. Note that these pieces of wool here are only to remember which one is which. they are not necessary for the functionality. I have already shown this in the 2D designs. It's a really simple item filter. And once the items get here, well, I can even demonstrate it working. You can see they immediately get ejected. But there is quite a bit of difference in how these things are set up. So this part where the items get thrown in is the same. And also is this part where they get recycled, so they go over the entire machine again. But let's go from the top. Now let's see. You can already notice these are not completely aligned. When you look at this like this, this is not because I don't know, had some kind of problem pasting them or anything. This is fully intentionally, and if you would not line them up like this, it would break. So to create this row of I guess item type group filters, I don't know how to call them from this, we simply create a row of these sorters that eject these items into powdered snow. You don't necessarily need the powdered snow in this case, so this might be a really cool option if you don't have powdered snow or whatever. You can also use cobwebs, but you can also encase them like this. I just was a little lazy, and this makes sure everything works properly, because you might have some issues here at the end. I just left this one open fully intentionally to show you that this is actually just a dropper, not a dispenser or anything else. What that then causes is all of these items, from all these, in this case 10 different filters, you can make this as long as you want. You can make this 100 different items, which is also an advantage over the previous slot reserving item filters, multi-item filters, and that is that they were limited, I believe, to the amount of different items you can put into a double chest, which is 54. Maybe there's a design that can do more, I haven't found one, but we can do way more. We can do 1000 if you want to. I wouldn't recommend that, but it is definitely up there. All these items, once ejected, fall into the water stream, get blocked by this fence gate. I use a fence gate because I needed something, my opinion, this is the best option for this particular case. You can see why we are using the powdered snow, because putting glass like this might not necessarily work and might not be possible on the other ones. But of course you can make it longer. If you want to make this bigger, you can remove it. The items get stopped here, and they fall. Let me line myself up into this hopper, which is the green hopper, representing the green color in this case. So this thing sorts out 9 by 10, so 19 different items. It's almost as much as this 10 by 10 design right here. It's like this one without one of these rows. Yeah, the actual interface is way smaller. Obviously, this comes at the downside of being a little more complicated. You can easily use all the tricks I have shown before, how to convert this into a bulk storage by stacking these like this. You can then even lock these if you make them, instead of 1 by 1, 2 by 1, which is still better than anything else out there. Yeah, obviously this also needs to be filled. I think I might have accidentally released some water on this. What else is here? Of course, this needs the proper alignment. So what I did here is that it goes from, you need to look a bit closer on your screen, from here to here to here, then again from this one to this one to this one, and from this to this to this one. If I simply line this up to make it easier based on the palette of colors in the first row of colored blocks. So if you need to think about this a little more, I'll fly around this a little more. You can see this is really simple. It's just an item elevator. Then we move the items in these water streams. Interestingly, I couldn't move this fence gate one block to this side, which is really funny. I think there is some kind of lining up issues which made the item stuck, even though the water stream was long enough. Very rarely that happens. That's why we always want to test these. I can show you how you can try that. Let me put in redstone. And let's follow it, as it goes over all of these water streams right here. These are just simply lined up. You can see that one, every third one, has this slight movement to the side by one block. And then we go back and it gets recycled. I don't really have many recommendations for sizes of these things. This is completely up to you. This is by all means completely unprecedented technology that was not available before in any way, shape, or form, so there are no best practices known. One thing I guess I can recommend you is to combine these, so you can decide which ones you want to have single item type and which one you want to have multi. Since obviously this is the same speed, but generally less capacity, you want to have these for more rare items. For example, if you want to sort diamonds and, I don't know, emerald ore or netherite stuff, you probably don't want to have it sorted by an individual filter and it take up one slot on your, well, oversized access point, because obviously the smaller you make this, the easier and faster it is to get into it and get to the thing you want, which is like the ultimate optimization of storage system. Because all that storage systems are here for is convenience. All of these machines, what they do is make it faster for you to get your items. You can obviously fully combine it with this thing. You can put them next to each other. You then just need to do things like I did here with the trapdoors to make sure they don't, well, block each other accidentally. I'm honestly shocked nobody did this, because this doesn't just stop at this exact design you are looking at. This allows you to use any sort of set of filters here. You don't need to use this one. You can even have, for example, a block gap here and have unstackable sorters here. Or you can use shulker box fillers or even shulker box sorters for this. There are no limits to this. You can literally have this thing half filled with shulker boxes, the other half with items. Or however you set this up. This is quite literally just taking the technology I have shown you and just moving it around differently and lining it up better, or in this case differently, with the sheet plane of hoppers that feed into the, it's not even proper name hallway, but I guess access point for the storage. This kind of invalidates a huge amount of storages when you think about it. What's the point of having a binary encoded hallway when you can make this, which is infinitely faster to access? Like, it's comparing quadratic scaling to linear scaling. So even if you would somehow make the previously mentioned conventional designs, you would have a hallway that, instead of being 3 by 3, is at least 18 blocks long. If you cut it down to half, you can make it only, well, you can't fully make it 9 blocks because they are too wide, but pretty close to that, like 10 and 8. So still, running 10 blocks is way longer than only 3 at most. There are also some other considerations you want to make. You need to realize that this barrel here can only hold 27 slots, and then when it gets filled up like this, it doesn't matter if it's a multi-item sorter, you can get to this thing. So that's one thing you should keep in mind. Obviously, you can make methods to getting on top of this. You can obviously fully hopper lock this. There is plenty of space here for full hopper locking. And if there isn't, you can just space these more apart. You can use 1x, 2x filters, all methods of filtering. You can, anything that can somehow get the items into a water stream, you can use this. You can even connect this directly to a farm, I realized. If you have some kind of very slow farm, you can straight up have it eject the items into one of these water streams that you just make longer. Of course, you need to be careful because the hopper can only suck in 9,000 items per hour, but that's probably more than most people need from their farms anyway. So yeah, honestly, I'm shocked this is even possible. I'm more shocked that somehow nobody made this before, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this thing helped you. I'll do some panning around of it. Please share, like, subscribe, whatever. But honestly, if you don't, I'll happily keep this to myself. By all means, people invest a lot of time in keeping technology secret, and I make it public, so yeah. If you don't want to use it, feel free to. I won't shed tears over it. And have a nice day.